there has been a sea change, as I said, in political and economic thought. I think there's a new software package that you have got to upload to be successful in this current environment. So we're going to walk through what I mean now by Globalization 2.0, the new operating system. First of all, we have a new economic philosophy program that's being uploaded. On the left is the patron saint of Globalization 1.0, Uncle Milton Friedman, hero of mine. And he said that markets are efficient when they're free and they're open, and that government intervention creates destabilization, and that the economy can be managed merely through altering the money supply, through money supply alone. Basically, his belief was that markets are smarter than governments. Well, now in Globalization 2.0, we have a new economic patron saint, John Maynard Keynes, and he believed that markets require government orchestration, and that intervention by the government creates stabilization, and that the economy can be managed simply through expanding or contracting government spending, ultimately that governments are smarter than markets. Well, this new economic philosophy is going to inform the government's economic management. Here we contrast Reaganomics with Obamanomics. Okay? Reagan believed in lower taxes. He believed in free markets. He believed in minimal regulation. In fact, at his inaugural address in 1981, I remember watching it, he said, "Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem." Can't articulate it any more clearly than that. Well, let's contrast with Obamanomics. Believes in fairer taxes, believes in fairer markets, believes in comprehensive regulation. Clearly stated it at his inaugural address by saying the question is not whether our government is too big or too small, but whether it works, whether it helps families find jobs at a decent wage, care they can afford, and a retirement that is dignified. Inherent in that is a very active role in government, and you can see it very cleanly there. I think there'll be a shift in central banking philosophy, too, to conform to this new operating system. Here's the patron saint of, sorry, I'm laughing because I actually did have a picture of Greenspan in my dorm room when I was in college. Here he is. Fed has a dual mandate. Low consumer inflation. They use monetary tools to control that. Maximum employment. This is what Congress tells the Fed to do, to pursue that. And ultimately, Greenspan, who was a disciple of Ayn Rand, said that markets are efficient, they're self-correcting, and they move towards equilibrium. Notice how consistent this philosophy is all the way down from Friedman through Reagan and into Greenspan. Well, there's an alternative view on central banking that was promoted by an economist named Hyman Minsky, who's getting a whole lot of attention now. Well, Hyman says, yes, the Fed does have a dual mandate. It needs to control consumer inflation using monetary tools. It needs to prioritize an environment of maximum employment. But, Alan, you're missing something. The Fed should also concern itself with asset inflation. Asset inflation being different from consumer price inflation. So consider this. Greenspan presided over the two biggest bubbles we've seen in a long time, right? He presided over the housing bubble. He presided over the stock market bubble. And for both of them, he kind of turned an eye. He warned us. He said, yeah, you're irrationally exuberant. But he believed that markets would self-correct. He believed if prices got high, people would sell. And if prices got low, people would buy. Hyman Minsky would tell you that that's completely asymmetrical. And here's what he would tell you, is that if gas prices go up, you're probably going to buy less gas. But if ExxonMobil stock goes up, you probably want more. Gas prices go down, you'll probably consume more gas. ExxonMobil price goes down, you probably want to get rid of it. And so what he would tell you is that markets are asymmetrical from that standpoint, and therefore the Fed should also concern itself with governing the asset markets, because he believed that markets are inherently unstable. And if you've heard about the Minsky moment, it's this. The fact that ExxonMobil stock is going up will be so seductive to us all that we will borrow an enormous amount of money to continue to feed the trend of ExxonMobil going higher. And we'll do that until the weight of all that borrowing basically collapses upon us and creates, in his mind, a Minsky moment. And then the government has to step in and figure out how to inflate another bubble. And so there's clearly a philosophical shift that's occurring right now. And Art Schlesinger says that these shifts happen about every 25 to 30 years or so. And we've obviously been in a conservative economic regime, which ultimately, he would tell you, will succumb to the corruptions of money. And we're shifting into a liberal economic regime that ultimately will succumb to the corruptions of power. But we're not there yet, okay? And for those of you who are concerned, if you think about the way France runs its economy, a lot of us might turn our nose up at it, and yet who knows what the long-term rate of returns for equities in France is? 10%, right? So we can make money under either regime, but we have to adjust our style a bit.